And let's get the source sheet up. Okay, let's zoom in on that source sheet. All right, so we are in Parsha Matot-Masei, double Parsha to conclude Sefer Bamidbar. They are almost always read together. I can't recall them not having been read together. Though I guess in theory it's possible that that happens. Um, and so we touched on right last week with the end of Parshat Pinchas and sort of the transition to Masei. So we mentioned that the beginning of Masei has the discussion of Nidarim, of laws of vows. Um, but we're going to focus on one of the more discussed episodes, but one of the more discussed episodes, but a detail that I've never really heard discussed previously. So the episode is the episode of Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven. So you'll recall that, right, even though Moshe is not allowed to enter into the land, the conquest of the land actually begins in Moshe's lifetime, and it begins on the east bank of the Jordan River, in the land of Midian, Moab. It's a little discussion if they're one in the same place or not. But anyway, they begin the conquest, and the tribes of Reuven and Gad come to Moshe, and they say, "Hey, this land we just captured, this is really nice land. This is a good grazing land, and we have a lot of cattle. How they got their cattle, that's for a different time, different story. But we have a lot of cattle. We'd really like to stay here." And Moshe gets very upset at them, right? Moshe, who is, we discover in Sefer Devarim that, right, this point in his life, he is obsessed and he is begging God nonstop, please let me enter into the land of Israel. Please let me enter into Eretz Canaan proper. And these tribes come and say, we don't want a part of that. We want to stay here and raise our cattle. But there's a whole other thing where when they say that they will, of course, go and fight in battle with the rest of the nation. So they say, and we'll leave our cattle and our children behind and we'll go fight. So, right, there's one issue, which is their priorities, and are they prioritizing their riches and their wealth, their cattle, over their family and children? So that's one important issue. Um, but Moshe sees this as sort of a slap in the face. You have the opportunity and you're not going to take advantage of it. What's wrong with you? And he gets very, very, very upset. He frames his critique of them in terms of is it fair? And again, a lot of echoes with what's going on in Israel today. Is it fair that your brothers will go out to battle and you're going to stay behind and not? Um, and so and they say, no, that was never our intention. We will lead the charge. We'll be at the vanguard. We'll be the first ones into battle. And only once everyone else is settled and all the land is captured, then we'll go back and raise our cattle here. Eventually they concede. Moshe concedes with Hashem's input. But he adds one curious condition, which is what?
They have to lead the troops across. They're
Right. So
responsible
that
for
that that
battle.
was part of Moshe's original idea. But when he agrees that they're going to stay, and I think we spoke about this one year previously. There's a new member that comes to join them. Right? Chatzi Menashe, half of the tribe of Menashe, who was not part. Right. As far as we know, Menashe didn't have cattle. Menashe never came and asked to be part of this, and yet Menashe is included, and half of Menashe is included. So we'll come back to that interesting detail a little bit later. So then, in sort of what really reads as a footnote to this whole episode, in source number one, um, right? Moshe, everything's been worked out. Okay, they're going to be able to stay here. They're going to lead the nation in battle. In chapter 32, verse 33, Vayitin lahem Moshe livnei Gad livnei Reuven ulachatzi shevet Menashe ben Yosef and Mamlechet Sichon melech haEmori and Mamlechet Og melech haBashan. Haaretz lareh b'gvulot haaretz saviv. Moshe gave to the tribes of Gad, Reuven, and half of Menashe the land of Sichon, the king of Emor, and the land of Og, the king of Bashan, um, which is on the outskirts of the borders of the land. Vayivnu b'nei Gad et Divon vet Atarot vet Aroer. So Bnei Gad built these three cities, these three places for their cattle, and presumably where the women and children would remain behind. Ve'et Atrot, Shofan, Vet Yazer v'Yagbaha, and Atrot, Shofan, and Yazer Yagbaha. Ve'et Beit Nimra, Ve'et Beit Haran, Are Mivtzar, Ve'Gidrot Tzon. Okay, they built a bunch of places. They really did have a lot of cattle. They weren't lying. And so they built all these different cities or settlements, I guess, for the cattle to stay. Ubnei Reuven banu et Cheshbon vet El Ala vet Kiryatayim vet Nevo vet Baal Maon Musabot Shem vet Shima v'Yiku b'Shmot et Shmot Harim Asher Banu. Okay, so Bnei Reuven also builds a number of cities or settlements for their cattle. Vayelchu b'nei Machir ben
Yes,
Menashe
sir, Governor.
Gilada.
This is Sheriff Taylor.
Hello.
Governor, my deputy Barney Five tagged your car this morning, and
He's got it. Vayechu b'nei Machir ben Menashe Gilada v'Yokada v'Yoresh et ha'Emori asher ba. So b'nei Menachir ben Menashe. So a subgroup of the tribe of Menashe go to Gilad and they capture it, and they conquer the Amorites who live there. Vayitin Moshe et Hagilada et Hagilad leMachir ben Menashe vayeshev ba. So Moshe gives the Gilad to Machir ben Menashe who settled there. Yair ben Menashe halach vayokod et chavotehem vaykartan chavat Yair. And Yair ben Menashe went and he captured the surrounding environs and he called it Chavot Yair. V'novach halach vayokod et Kanat vet benotev vayikra la Novat bishmo. And Novach went and he captured Kanat and its surroundings and he called it Novach after himself.
Can I just ask one question
Yes.
about that last pasuk?
Yeah.
Who's Novach?
No idea.
Right, and this is the only time it comes up in all of Tanakh.
Yeah, that's going to be next year's shir.
Okay.
If we remember.
Especially because
presumably he's from Menashe. That's all I know about Novach.
right, and he calls something Novach Bishmo, but it doesn't last. As soon as he walks away, they change the name back.
It has echoes of Sefer Bereshit.
Right.
There's echoes there of naming cities after yourself. Yeah, that'll be for next year. So
okay.
Novach, I don't know much about at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. So we are going to focus on Bnei Machir ben Menashe, who capture the Gilad and call it Chavos Yair. So just as a footnote, there is a very important sefer in halacha called the Chavot Yair, right? Whether the author's name is Yair Bachrach, so whether this was the only pasuk with the name Yair that he found, or there was something more fundamental, I'm not sure. But very, very important posek from Germany, Moravia, 1638 to 1702, the Chavot Yair. Among the tshuvot that he wrote is one which discusses daughters saying Kaddish for a father. Very often quoted in more contemporary times when that has become a more common question that's asked. But the Chavos Yair is a very important figure. Okay, so we have this settlement in Gilad, and it's called Chavot Yair, and that's our starting off point. The next step, and this is another inspired by Rabbi Foreman. Um, so the next step is to note who is this Bnei Machir? Who are the Bnei Machir? Presumably the clan of Machir, who's one of the descendants from Menashe. So if we look in Divrei Hayamim, 1 Chronicles 2:21. So there it tells us, V'achar ba Chetzron el bat Machir avi Gilad, v'hu likacha v'hu ben shishim shana v'tele lo et Skuv, u'Skuv holid et Yair, v'hilo esrim v'shalosh arim be'eretz Gilad. So this is the lineage of Yair, who was the one who went and captured the land that we're focused on.
Right.
Where does Yair come from? Who are Yair's parents or grandparents?
It says
Yair's the son of Menashe.
Menashe.
Well, he's the son of Skuv. And Skuv, right?
Well, but in Pasuk 41,
Who comes
Yair's
from
son of
Machir.
Menashe.
Right. But we're in Divrei Yamim now.
Oh,
But
okay.
Machir, right. So you're saying that we have the descendants of Machir who go to the Gilad and capture it.
Right.
And then we're told that Yair ben Menashe went and captured their villages and renamed it Chavot Yair. But Yair, it seems, is Machir's, right? Chetzron had relations with the daughter of Machir.
Right.
So that means that Machir is the great grandson. Sorry, Yair is the great grandson of Machir. Did I do that right?
Yes. But significant. Well, the great grandson of Machir, correct.
So
But
in
on whose side?
Oh, right. The mother,
On the mother's
daughter of
side.
Machir, father of, okay.
So Machir is from the tribe of Menashe. Yair is connected to Menashe via his grandmother. And who's
Correct.
his grandfather?
Chetzron
Chetzron. Where does Chetzron come from?
from Peret.
From
From
Peretz,
Peret.
from Yehuda. So that's very unusual, right? That
Intertribal marriage.
Intertribal marriage isn't. I mean, that is addressed in our parsha as well with the follow-up to the Benot
But it's
Tzlofchad.
not God.
But it's very unusual that a descendant is identified by the grandmother's tribe and not by the grandfather's tribe, right?
He was a half. Is that why it's Chatzi?
Maybe
He's a half Jew or whatever.
I don't. He's a half Menashite. Um, I don't know. I don't know, but it's very odd, right? It's very odd that this person who is clearly, as far as halacha, as far as all that we know, would be considered a member of Shevet Yehuda, nonetheless is identified as Ben Menashe.
I mean, is it possible that this could be just recycling of a name and that this is a subsequent generation and not the
So
generation that
Divrei
was
Hayamim is going through this same genealogy. That's what Divrei
okay.
Hayamim does. So
Okay.
it seems, at least anything's possible, but it does seem that this is what indeed is going on.
Got it.
Okay, so
And
yeah,
the pasuk in the Chumash says, Ben Yair ben Menashe.
correct.
We don't need to understand that as meaning that he's his direct son. It could mean that he's
No, I mean,
That's right.
it's interesting to note when the Torah goes in the detail of every generation, but everyone reads it as from the tribe of Menashe, not that he was Menashe's direct son. But you're right, it could be. There is that possibility that Divrei Yamim isn't quite aligned with Bamidbar, but we're going to go on the assumption that it is, at least for now.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our first question. That question is going to go in the background for a while, and we'll come back to it. So the question is, why is Yair identified as coming from the tribe of Menashe when everything that we know indicates that he should be part of the tribe of Yehuda.
Right, he's Davidic.
Yeah. Right. And right, that's what these
Pre-Davidic.
other psukim here show, right? So from Megillat root, right, that Chetzron his great grandfather, his great grandfather, is from the line of David, right?
Right.
Right.
So he's seemingly a person, a family of Yichus. Let's put that aside. What is the region that Yair captures?
Gilead.
Chavot
Gilad.
Yair.
Gilad. Right, and then he also, right, within Gilad, he has Chavot Yair.
No,
Right, but
Machir gets Gilad. Right? This
yeah.
descendants of Machir get
B'nai
it?
Machir b'Menashe Giladav Yukudav. Right. So whether that's
Okay,
specifically
whatever.
Yair, but the
Right.
area we're talking about is Gilad.
Okay.
Okay. So this is where the Rabbi Foreman amazingness comes in. Because Gilad brings us back to Sefer Breshit. Where in Sefer Breshit does Gilad bring us to?
The place of the vow, Gilad, and also in Aramaic, Sadavustar, or something like that.
Okay, so what's the greater context of what's going on there, Aaron?
Oh,
So this is
It's an agreement between Lavan and Yaakov that they would not cross that borderline into each other's territory, and so on. I mean, they
Right.
would
that's the end. But the main part is this is the confrontation, right?
Mhm.
The end result is that they wouldn't cross over, but in the middle
that's
we have
really
this big confrontation between Lavan and Yaakov, and that's
Yeah.
also the issues of Rachel, right?
Correct. Okay, so
so.
I wasn't.
Wait,
Yeah,
are the descendants of Lavan there? Like previous? Are they more? No, those aren't
no.
descendants.
We're gonna put the ancestry aside for a moment.
Okay,
Okay, we'll come
so
back to it. Okay.
and I just
Um.
noticed one other thing. It was called Lavan called it Yagar Saduta.
Right.
Yeah.
Yaakov named it
Thank you.
Gilad.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct. So I wasn't sure exactly where to start because again, the whole story is so interesting and rich. But remember what happens is that Yaakov has been living with Lavan. He's at this point he's built his family and he's done this whole thing with the sheep and the spotted and the speckled and the striped and the whatever. Um, it's time for them to part ways. And Yaakov seems to part ways with Lavan in a way that is a little bit manipulative or sneaky. He consults with Rachel and Leah. He says, things aren't going so great between me and your father. Hashem told me it's time to go back to my homeland. Are you on board? And they say yes. And so Yaakov seems to kind of sneak off in the middle of the night. And right there already was a distance. So eventually Lavan gets word after 3 days when eventually he gets word that Yaakov has departed or has seemingly left. And Lavan gets very upset and he chases after Yaakov. So let's just all right, so if we pick up right in source number 3, the very beginning of where I started, Vayivach hu v'chol asher lo vayakum vayavor et hanahar vayasim et panav har hagilad. Right, so spoiler alert, right? Yaakov departs and he splits and crosses the river and he heads towards Mount Gilad. Okay, so we've got Gilad as an important place here. So on the third day, it's told to Lavan that Yaakov ran away, and so Lavan gathers the rest of the family, or his sons, his brothers, and he chases after Yaakov and catches up to him at Mount Gilad. And God appears to Lavan at night and says, "Don't do anything to Yaakov. He's my chosen one." Okay, so but Lavan nonetheless, right, confronts Yaakov and he says, I had this dream. I'm not allowed to hurt you, but you acted inappropriately. You didn't allow me to kiss my daughters and my grandchildren goodbye. You didn't allow me to give a proper send off to them, and my idols are missing. And so Yaakov gets very upset at Lavan. He says, for years I've been working with you. I've done nothing wrong. I've been brought only good to you. I helped you to prosper. I gave you a beautiful family, grandchildren. And all you've done is give me sorrow. And now you're accusing me of stealing your idols. Whoever stole your idols, they're going to let them die because I know that we're innocent. None of us stole your idols. And of course, this is a major mistake in Yaakov because Rachel had stolen the idols. Um, and fine. So right, that's sort of skipping over some of the details. And then right, Lavan says, "Let me check. I don't believe you. I never would misplace the idols on my own." So he looks in everyone's tent. The final tent he comes to check is Rachel's tent. She says, "Hi, Father. I'm so glad to see you. I can't get up because I have my period. And so I'm going to just remain sitting." And really, she's sitting on top of the idols, but he never suspects her. And he leaves. And after that is when they make their covenant. So let's pick up in verse 43. Let me give that in the English. Verse 43. Vayan Lavan vayomer el Yaakov habanot benotai abanim banai atzon tzonai v'chol asher ata ro'eh lihu livnotai ma'aseh la'ila hayom o livnehem asher yaladu. Right. So Lavan says, I still maintain my claim over everyone and everything. Ata lecha nichbata brit ani va'ata vayala eid beini v'necha. So since we're at an impasse, presumably, let's make a covenant between us. Vayikach Yaakov Evan v'yarima matzeva. So Yaakov took a stone and he put it as we'll call it as a monument for this covenant they're about to make. Vayomer Yaakov le'echav liktu avanim v'yichu avanim v'yasu gal v'yochlu sham al hagal. He tells his sons to go gather more stones, and they gather all the stones together. They make a gal, a mount, a pile of stones, and there they eat. Vaikralo Lavan Yagar Sahaduta, Yaakov Karalo Galed. Lavan calls this place Yagar Sahaduta, presumably just Mount of Testimony in his language, and Yaakov calls it Galed. Vayomer Lavan Hagal Hazeh Eid Beinu Veincha Hayom Alkin Karashmo Galed. Lavan says this mount of stones is the witness for, and they call it Galed. Hamitzpah Amar Yitzaf Hashem Beinu Veinecha Kini Sater Ish Meriehu. Im ta'aneh et benotai, v'im tikach nashim al benotai, ein ish imanu, ve'elokim eid beini u'veinecha. So make sure you treat my children properly. Don't take any more wives. Vayomer Lavan leYaakov, hinei hagal hazeh, hinei hamatziva asher yariti beini u'veinecha. So again, Lavan says, look at this mount, this pile of rocks. Eid hagal hazeh, ve'ida hamatzeva, imani lo evor elecha et hagal hazeh, v'imata lo tavor ilai et hagal hazeh, et hamatziva hazot lira'ah. So this is a witness that we will not cross over, right? This is going to be the boundary between us. Elokei Abraham, Elokei Nachor, Yishpetu Beinenu, Elokei Avihem, V'yishava Yaakov mipachad aviv Yitzchak. So the God of Abraham and of Nachor is the witness, and Yaakov swears. Vayizvach Yaakov zevach bahar, vayikra lecha lecholechem, vayochlu lechem v'yalinu bahar. And so Yaakov offers sacrifices, and they eat together, and so presumably they part amicably, and everything is good. All right, everyone, remember this story now? We're all caught up to speed?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, all right. So there's a really important Rashi here. Remember when Lavan first confronts Yaakov and he says, you stole my idols. And Yaakov says, Im asher timsat elokecha lo yichyeh neged achenu haker lecha ma imadi v'kach lach lo yada Yaakov ki Rachel ganavtam. So Lavan says, you stole my idols. Yaakov says, whoever has your idols will not live. In the presence of your kin, point out what I have of yours and take it, right? If you see anything that's yours, please. Yaakov did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Rashi notes, right? This is a little bit of a weird phrase that Yaakov uses. It should be Elohecha, right? It's not Elokecha. It's not referring to Hashem. Lo yichyeh. Whoever has your gods will not live. Normally would say whoever has your God should die. What does it mean, lo yichyeh? So Rashi says, Me'ota klala meta Rachel baderech. From this curse, which Yaakov says that whoever stole the idols will not live, this is the reason why Rachel dies in early death in childbirth, giving birth to Binyamin, because of Yaakov's improper words. Rabbi Foreman builds on this. In that statement, Jacob made a curious choice of words. Whoever you find with your gods shall not live. He could have just said, whoever you find with your gods will die. It leads us to wonder, could not living imply something even more severe than dying? What I'm getting at here is the concept of legacy and continuity. When a person dies, their children can carry on their legacy, ensuring that they are never truly forgotten. In the case of Rachel, if Jacob's fearsome unintended vow were to be realized in full, that is, if Rachel were to actually not just die, but not live, that means that her legacy would need to be lost as well. Who is Rachel survived by? Her sons, Yosef and Binyamin. To really lose Rachel, Yaakov would need to lose Yosef and Binyamin too. Here then is what I'm wondering. Did Jacob's unintended curse end up extending even to Rachel's progeny? What do we know, of course, about Yosef and Binyamin?
That they're Rachel's kids, but we also know that Ephraim and Manasseh get the inheritance of Yosef. So we got Manasseh back in play.
Okay, so interestingly, right, that in the history, whether that's, Yosef is not among the tribes. So some say, well, but he's got two representatives because Manasseh and Ephraim are there, but he's not there. But even before that, what happens to Yosef?
Oh, yeah. He becomes Prime Minister of Egypt.
He becomes Prime Minister of Egypt, but he becomes lost to Yaakov.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Yaakov fears that Yosef is gone forever. And in the drama of Yosef and the brothers, what happens to Binyamin?
He also gets arrested.
Yeah, so there's a moment where it does appear, certainly from Yaakov's perspective, that both Yosef and Binyamin are going to be lost. Right?
Okay.
But the part that's missing here is also Yaakov.
Yeah.
That Yaakov experiences tremendous trauma, right? Doesn't he talk about Chaim She'ola, that he's going to die so that is worse than death.
Yeah.
Right? So Yaakov is sharing some of this unfortunate consequence of the wording of what he said.
So according to Rashi, right, it's his fault.
Sure.
He brings that curse upon himself.
Yes.
And so then in his typical fashion, what Rabbi Foreman does is builds a beautiful connection between, right, we're now back in Breshit. So between the Gal Aid story, the Yaakov and Lavan story, and the story of Yosef. So he notes, again, this is the way that that biblical scholars operate, is you find the similarities between the stories, and if there's enough similarities, then you know that there's some intrinsic connection. Right? So what are the similarities that he finds? So in Gal Aid, when Lavan accuses Yaakov of having stolen the idols, Yaakov says, "Im asher tinsat Elohecha lo yichya neged achenu hakerna ma imadi v'kach lach." Anyone with whom you find your God shall not remain alive. In the presence of your kinsmen, point out what I have of yours. It works a lot better in the Hebrew than in the English, right? So when the brothers first plot and sell Yosef and then have to tell Yaakov that something happened to him, right? What do? They say, Zot matzanu, we found this, right? The same verb as which Yaakov used to Lavan. And this is the key phrase, hakerna, haketonet bincha hi imlo. Please examine it, look at it, recognize it. Is this Yosef's tunic? Is this his coat or not? Right, so the same verb, haker, haker. both stories.
It occurs in Yehuda's story also.
Correct. With Tamar, yes, everything becomes built upon everything else.
Sometimes the translate is recognize.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it works better in the Hebrew. Okay, so another similarity is that we saw that Yaakov and Lavan sit down to eat a meal together. Vayikra lechav le'echol lechem, right? After they make this covenant at Gal Eid, the brothers when they first begin, when they first plot against Yosef, or even before they plot, when they see him coming, what are they doing? Vayeshu le'echol lechem. They were also sitting down to eat bread. We could also point to the various meals they have in Egypt, without knowing that they're eating with Yosef. But there's a lot of, again, eating with brothers. Right? This is a very interesting one. Rachel's undoing is that she stole the idols. The Hebrew word for the idols is trafim. So it's not the same
That's what makes it so brilliant,
shoresh.
though.
It's not the same shoresh, but phonetically, when the brothers present the coat to Yaakov and tell him, "We found this. Is this Yosef's?" What's his reaction? Kitonet bani chaya ra'achaltuhu. This is indeed Yosef's coat. An animal must have eaten him. Tarof taraf Yosef. He has literally been torn apart by a beast, but tarof taraf phonetically as the same as trafim. Right? He does a similar thing. Rachel says that when Lavan comes into her tent to look for the idols, she's sitting on the bichar, on the car, bichar, on the pillow, right? So there, it looks the same, but it's pronounced differently, right? Bichora is one of the major themes of the story of Yosef and the brothers. So bichar on the pillow is, again, this is now not phonetically, but visually the same as bichor or bichora, which is one of the major themes. Another, right? She sits on the kar hagamal, on the pillow of the camel, right? The saddle, which would sit on the camel. When the brothers, right, first they threw Yosef in the pit, and eventually they decide to sell him because they see a caravan with camels coming by.
From the
Okay,
Gilad. What are you skipping
from
that?
Gilad, correct, from Gilad.
Wow.
Okay, so then another one, right? So the excuse that Rachel gives to her father why she can't get up to greet him properly is because she's on her period, right? Derech Nashim
Okay.
Li. And what did the brothers do with Yosef's coat? They
in
dip it
blood.
in blood, right? So blood is figuring prominently in both stories. And here's the kicker, right? Vayomer Lavan. So Lavan calls the place Gal Eid. Yaakov calls it Gal Eid. And this whole story with Yosef and the brothers takes place with the caravan coming from Gilad. So again, not phonetically the same, but clearly the same place, the same word. Right. So then if we move further on in the story, once Binyamin enters the picture, right? So a couple parshiot later, when Yosef plants the goblet in Binyamin's sack, and right, they're terrified that now Binyamin is going to have to be in jail. They had promised Yaakov that no matter what, they would bring Binyamin back home. So right, the parallel is right. So how did they find the goblet in Binyamin's packet? Is that they chased after him. Yosef told his servants, "Kum ridof acharei anashim," chase after the men and capture them, and see what they have. Right when Lavan first figures out that Yaakov had run away, vayikach et echav imo vayirdof acharav. He chases after him. Right. So then another parallel is when Lavan is searching for the idols, he goes into everyone's tent, which is evocative of when the Egyptian guards catch the brothers, they search everyone's bag, looking until eventually they come to Binyamin as the last one. So right, Lavan enters everyone's tents, the guards search everyone's bags, and right, back the fateful phrase that Yaakov gives, Elohecha lo yichyeh, whoever has your gods, he tells to Lavan, will not live, right? the brothers plea with this Egyptian viceroy, prime minister, please take all of us as prisoners in place of Binyamin. And Yosef says, no, Asher yimatzei ito me'avadecha v'amet. Whoever's guilty, whoever has the cup is going to die. No one else can take their place. Right? So you put all this together, it's very clear that the Yosef story and the Gal-Ed story are meant to parallel and inform each other.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Okay, beautiful, yeah, but you'll say, but Rabbi Kaplitz, we're in say Parshat Matos-Masei. What does any of this have?
We didn't realize that until you just
Right? What does any of this have to do with our parsha, right? And with the Gilad that Yair ben Bnei Menashe captured, right? Well, how does that connect? Okay, so here's where Rabbi Foreman picks it up from, relating to our parsha. This is a long section, but let's just set the stage. When the book of Numbers relates to us the tale of Yair's conquest, it wasn't just any old land. He had conquered Gilad, a land with a storied and painful past for the family of Israel. That makes all the difference in the world. Judah's role, as we've seen, was not inconsequential in the story of Gal-Ed. Neither was Yosef's. And now at the end of Numbers, in Yair's conquest, right, because of the parallels with the story of Yosef, so Judah and Yosef fit back into the Gal-Ed story. So now all three participants, interestingly, he names Gilad, the place, as a participant. Yosef and Yehuda intersect one more time. All right, so how did the story of Yosef and the brothers come to an end?
like he revealed himself, you mean?
Yeah, but what prompted that?
Yehuda.
Vayigash Elav Yehuda, right? Yehuda's impassioned plea, which breaks Yosef. Yosef can't remain in character anymore because he sees how sincere Yehuda's tshuva was, right? And that also relates back to Yehuda and Tamar, and they're also Yehuda is the champion of tshuva, right? So Yehuda is the hero in this Gal-Ed, Gilad, Yosef story. And remember, Yair really should be from the tribe of Yehuda, right? He comes from Chetzron, who was Yehuda's descendant. Okay, so a descendant in our centuries after Yehuda, right? Centuries after Gal-Ed, a descendant of Yehuda, Yair, picks up Judah's baton for one last relay in the race against the legacy of Gal-Ed. Yair captures the land of Gilad, Gal-Ed's namesake, and the place where the confrontation with Lavan and the covenant at Gal-Ed actually occurred. But how Yair does this, under whose banner he does it, symbolically rights an old wrong, an ancient stain on the name of Yehuda. As we saw earlier, Yehuda brought the family of Israel together and restored Yosef and Benjamin, the children of Rachel, to its ranks. He could not, however, undo the actual sale of Yosef. That sale had cataclysmic reverberations. Yosef was the first Israelite slave in Egypt. The sale brings the whole family down. Yair can't reverse that, but what does Yair do? Is he claims this land of Gilad for the tribe of Menashe, even though by rights, as a grandchild on the father's side from Shevet Yehuda, it should have been Yehuda's, and why someone from Yehuda is off conquering land in the Aver Yarden, I guess, is another question. But he claims it in the name of his grandmother's side, in the name of Menashe. Right? Menashe, as Avi pointed out, is Yosef's representative. There is no Shevet Yosef, it's Shevet Menashe. So Yehuda, the Yair, is again trying to right the wrong by claiming the land and giving it to Shevet Menashe, right? I.e. Shevet Yosef. He's trying to rectify that which was done against Yosef.
Well, i.e. Rachel.
Yes, i.e. Rachel, undoing the curse, right? Undoing the curse that Yaakov had originally laid down to whoever stole Lavan's idols. Okay, and then one last thing that that Rabbi Foreman notes is how is Yair connected to Shevet Menashe?
Through his grandmother,
marriage.
Through whom?
grandmother.
Machir?
Machir.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Look at the name Machir.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that? Aaron's got it. Aaron, spell it out for us.
Achir is to sell.
Correct.
And
Like
Oh,
Mechirat Yosef, right?
Yosef was
yep,
sold to the
yep.
Ishmaelim.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I would add to, my little contribution to this, again, it's always fun to go back to Sefer Breshit, but my added footnote to this whole thing is that we noted at the beginning, not only is it strange that the Yair associates with Shevet Menashe, which I think we've now explained very nicely, but why was Menashe in the picture at all? Right? It was God and Reuven who petitioned Moshe that they want to stay on
Right.
the east bank of the Jordan. So Moshe says, "Fine, you can stay here with half of Menashe." Why was Menashe added? What was Moshe's thought?
The other half is going to be over on the other side.
Right. So
On the
Moshe is
west.
afraid that if these tribes who are focused solely on their cattle and their wealth are going to be by themselves on the other side of the Jordan, that they're going to create a community that's totally disconnected from the rest of the nation. Right. So again, I'm pretty sure we did this one year. Um, but Menashe was seen as more of a spiritual tribe. They were, so Menashe was supposed to be the spiritual presence that kept them connected with the rest of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And right, Menashe, we knew, would ensure that connection because half of their family, all their cousins, were going to be on the other side of the Yarden. They, of course, were going to travel back and forth and remain concerned because their whole tribe, or not their whole tribe, half their tribe was with the nation on the other side of the Jordan. So Menashe is the glue that was going to keep the nation together. Right back to Sefer Breshit, where Yosef, the father of Menashe, was sort of the dividing point of the nation. Right, Yosef was the one who brought about all the jealousy and brought about all the contention and the strife and the drama. Right, perhaps because of the curse which Yaakov gave in Gal-Ed. Now Menashe is the one who is going to truly reverse and hopefully undo that curse by being the uniting force of the entire nation, by being that tribe which bridges the two sides of the Yarden and which ensures that God and Reuven would maintain a connection with the rest of the nation.
Beautiful.
Any questions or thoughts?
Well, there is an interesting parallel with what the Rebbe has to say about this.
Yeah.
If you'd like to hear it, but
Of course.
he sees this whole section of Parshas Matot anyway as expanding on something that happened with the war with the Midianites.
Mm-hmm.
In it, what happens as far as he's concerned spiritually is that the people of Israel realize, okay, some of us made a mistake at Baal Peor. We thought that the pleasures and the materialism and so on of the world, some of it is so awful. We just, we're just going to revel in it for a while. But Moshe's whole point in bringing the Torah to us is that we have to actually live in a material existence. We have to go out and plant. We have to get the food. We have to do this and so on with haaretz.
Mm-hmm.
So he gives the men of Menashe a little bit of a break. This is his way of saying, well, they mentioned their cattle first, but that perhaps if you give it a good twist, give them the benefit of the doubt, they wanted to demonstrate that they were going to take care of something in the material world and bring holiness from it.
Yeah.
And so then also in this case, what is going on is Menashe and making sure that that's something that seems to be such an impossible place to live is actually going to be a beautiful place to live, and a place that is going to be so treasured and all of that, and because they will bring holiness from it. And the tribe of Menashe and all that you spoke about are the leaders of it. So in a way, he's talking about a reversal of things that happened at Baal Peor. And of course, Rabbi Foreman's talking about several other reversals, but from it comes not only healing and the removal of curses and the assurance that Am Yisrael Chai, that we really will live on, but also this holiness, the sense of holiness that can come from the material world is vindicated.
Very nice.
Well,
very nice, beautiful.
Wanted to point out that from Leah's side, with not Bilhah, Zilpah, that Gad is the oldest from Zilpah. Right, so it's Reuven, Gad.
Right.
And then if you include Menashe as the son of Yosef with the bracha that Yaakov gives, you have like three elders. So maybe that's part of Moshe's fear, is that if the oldest child of Leah and the oldest child of Zilpah are sitting alone on this side, it might not work out so well.
Okay. I hear that. Right in that right, the Chor, yeah. Interesting. All right, there's a lot more to tease out of this, I think. And Aaron gave us our assignment for next year, right? To figure out who this Novad is, and Novach, and how he fits into the whole thing. But anyway, I thought this was quite a remarkable way of bringing all these things together, and
I have to admit that I just looked at it at the beginning, and I'd see Bamidbar. Okay, then there's Ruth, then there's First Chronicles, but then we're back in Bamidbar, and then by the time I got to page 2, I thought I can feel a David Foreman coming up because
yeah.
Well,
if you see the table, that's a pretty good giveaway also, or if you see the source that says Rabbi David Foreman. Yeah.
But you've done such a good job of showing us, how he thinks and all that. If we have really disparate passages that are being set up against one another, whoops, just a minute.
Yeah.
He's around the corner. Thank you for introducing him to us in this way.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll meet again next week.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.